Hi, this is Alison Durant coming to you from my studio here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And it's been a really long time since I've recorded a video, and I thought it would be a great day to just get a video out there, almost as a warm-up for me, just to get back into a rhythm. I find when I've been away from social media or recording videos, it just takes some time to get back into it. And that's just the best way I can describe it. So I'm gonna start with just telling you exactly where I am at with my creative practice. Art is a lifestyle for me, and for those of you that follow me know that I'm always creating. I have many projects on the go at a time, and I think the best way for me to start the video is just to show you what I've been working on. I am gonna pull a card from this deck, Souls Seeking Seed, by artist Kim Dills, and that is a deck that I haven't used very frequently. I often pick a card from my own art deck, and this is the last deck that I have out of about 530 decks I had sold over the last year or so, and I'm currently waiting to restock my art deck on my website. But these cards are in little plastic sleeves, as I had done an art show just this past year, and I was selling my art cards at the show and thought, well, how am I gonna, display this in a way where people can kind of get a feel for the quality of the card and, not get fingerprints on them. And so I ended up just putting all 71 into these little plastic sleeves. So it was quite tedious, and now that I have sold out of my deck, I had even sold the last copy that I used for my videos, and it will be, hopefully I'll be able to do a really big restock on my website this September. So I'm just in the process of restocking or reprinting, restocking, and getting organized. So I'm gonna just go to Kim Dills for inspiration of her deck, and then really quickly just flip back to what I've been working on. And so I'll show you these little panels. I've been really into collage, and something about just the tactile element of collage. It's something I never really enjoyed up until recently. And I think for me, it's because I would get into quite a mess with the glues, the adhesives that are used for collage. And I'm really trying to get into the practice of using just say, so obviously the work that I plan to sell, the collage, I use really, really great mediums, adhesives to get these papers down. So just to show you, this is a cradled wood panel, and the cradled part is just this little edge, and it has a beautiful frame that I can sit it in. I don't have the frame handy, although I hope to frame both of these. This one is coated with wax because I had some watercolor elements in here. And this one, you can see that I had used some of my mom's vintage simplicity sewing patterns in there. The sewing pattern paper is a really beautiful, I suppose, I don't know if it's called a substrate, or I guess a mixed media element that you can put into your work, as it just picks up the glue so nicely and has this transparency about it. Also this vintage look, which I don't use in much of my work. But I always sidetrack, which is just what I do. One of the adhesives I've really just started using for some of the thinner papers, the tissue papers, the sewing patterns, the deli papers, I've been using this golden matte medium. And it works really well, but I tend to use it outside just because I get headaches very easily from odorous art supplies. And this one just has something in it that it will give me a headache if I'm not in a well-ventilated space. So this I've been using for a lot of those thinner papers. And then for some of the thicker papers, I'll just show you. So on this cradled panel, this would be an example here of a thicker paper. This is not a cotton paper or a watercolor paper. It's actually a plastic Yupo paper. So Y-U-P-O. And they're often used for doing alcohol ink work on this type of a paper. I mean, you can use it for other things. I've used it for acrylic inks and watercolor. So this is just an example of a less absorbent paper that I have glued on here, and I'll show you what I use. Was it this one? Oh no, this one's really good too, the Liquitex matte gel. That's really good for like an in-between size paper. But this acid-free Yes paste is wonderful. It's an all-purpose, non-toxic, really low odor glue. And I actually was gifted this by my printer photographer, Ken, who had purchased it and he just wasn't using it. And so this was just a wonderful gift, and I'm using it so much for these heavier papers. So going back to what I've been working on. I've been working on almost repurposing really large works on paper. So this painting was on a really large piece of paper that was, I believe, 98 pounds. It may have been 140, and I had cut up the painting as it just wasn't speaking to me, although I really liked the colors, the textures, the energy, and the marks. So I had glued this to the cradled panel, and then I was just working on doing other collage on top. So we're back to these. So I'm just really experimenting with different glues when I want to just relax and I'm not selling my work. You know, it's not work I'm going to sell. I would use just a cheap glue stick. The Yoo-hoo stick, which is something I'm all out of, it's that yellow stick. I believe it may, where's it made? For some reason I was wondering if it's made in Germany. Maybe I'm making that up. This is just a really cheap one I believe I bought at the Dollarama. But I like to use these little glue sticks when I'm just trying to relax, because what I was telling you about earlier was the thing that turns me off of collage is I get into quite a mess. These adhesives, these matte gels, or you know, this Yes paste, they work wonderfully, but they are just, even if you have gloves, it gets messy, and it takes a lot of energy when you're trying to do relaxing art. So I'm really trying to go to paintings that are on paper that are sitting around, or you know, maybe painted papers that, you know, I'd collected somewhere, you know, sewing patterns, maybe the top of a really beautiful napkin from a special occasion. You can actually collage those on. There's so many ways to repurpose parts of work that was on paper that you may not just be loving enough to have as a final piece. So if anything, this video is of course a warm-up for me, but it's also just hopefully to inspire you to maybe get out a little journal and just get out a glue stick and start tearing up papers. This one, again, that's a bit of a Yupo paper, the plastic paper. This was really a background where I was smushing paint, but I loved the texture. And again, just practicing different techniques here. So these are not finished. These are just some that I'm working on. And this was an old painting, this underneath painting, where I was just playing around with materials and seeing how things worked. And I covered up an area that I didn't like with this black and white floral. And then this here was on brown paper, so brown toned paper. And it was just a color that I really liked, this coral color. And so I hope to finish this up. I really want to bring in more of that. It's called Nickel Azo Gold, and it's a really interesting color of a fluid paint by Golden, and you can see that is mixed in here with some of the other colors. I really hope to bring that Nickel Azo Gold back in over top this, maybe as a glaze. And okay, where am I going with this? Okay, I want to tell you, oh, I can't remember if I had discussed this or not. I'm just gonna zoom you in a little bit more. For some reason, I'm just seeing if I can zoom you in without losing you. Oh, I guess you are zoomed in. Okay. Okay, that's pretty good. What we could do is, just to break up the video a bit, is I can pull an art card from Kim Dills' deck, Soul Seeking Seed. So it's a 42 card art deck, and Kim and I swapped decks as we were taking a course through Alina Hennessy called Make Your Own Oracle Card Deck. So check out that silver foil edging, it's so stunning. I did a whole YouTube video here on Kim's deck. It's really, really a beautiful, inspiring deck. Let's just see what we get here for which animal and which botanical. So awareness, quail and quince. So this is number 25, and the colors in this painting are so stunning. This is that beautiful coral that actually I was just showing you from my from this painting. Just that seems to really tie in with that coral that I use in a lot of my work. I really love. And I like how she paired some neutrals in there just to kind of offset the brights and really make them stand out. So page 25. So the word with this card is awareness. The quail navigates with purpose and progress, leading to contemplate the next steps forward. The quince flower, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Q-U-I-N-C-E. I probably am not pronouncing that right, but the quince flower perseveres through adversity with unity and commitment. Paired together, the soul of the quail with the seed of the quince brings understanding and awareness. So how can you navigate life with purpose and progress, leading to contemplate the next steps forward? Well, I'll just leave that with you. So just having an awareness. And I think for me, really thinking about being present in the moment and just having an awareness of what brings me joy and really what's important in life, and really kind of, I suppose, yeah, just really zeroing in on what makes you happy and brings you joy, and just having an awareness, maybe having gratitude for these little moments. So I'm not sure how you would interpret that card today as you're listening to this video. Very, very beautiful. So I'm gonna link Kim's deck in my description, and everything about this deck I really love. The box, this little flip box, which is magnetic, the quotes on the side. Animals are something invented by plants to move seeds around, an extremely yang solution to a peculiar problem which they faced. Terence McKenna. So a really lovely gift for somebody. I think Kim is probably still stocked with these on her website. That I'm not too sure. You'll have to reach out to Kim Dills. Okay. Oh, it feels so strange getting back into videos. I'm going to just pull a card really quickly from my own art deck, my art poetry deck, and again, it's in these slip covers, which, you know, I'm just gonna kind of pull something out of the middle because this is the last deck before I'm restocking. And interesting that I would pull the card Listen. And this painting that I had done really makes me think of the universe, or almost looking down as like an aerial view over the ocean, the water. And it kind of ties in with Kim's card awareness and really listening to, you know, just sort of what those signs of the universe that I think we're all given, but maybe can be really hard to tune into. And just taking the time to appreciate the quiet moments in your life, and just finding a way to kind of turn off, you know, social media or the TV, the radio, podcasts. Just, you know, it seems, I know for myself, I'm constantly trying to fill the silence, and just the importance of quiet. That's sort of what I'm thinking about today. And I'd mentioned in a video of the artist Helen Wells out of the UK. I love her concertina journal class, but she does wonderful classes on art journals and inspiration. And it was sort of how these paintings that were really big, so these were at least 18 by 24 inch paintings, which I had folded into a journal, and I had started to collage on. So I'm just gonna unfold this one. And show you. It's pretty wild right now. And I'm gonna see if I can just zoom out. Yeah, it's so large, actually I can't get it all in, but you get the gist of it. That this was a painting I had done just putting down watercolors really early on in my, well, I guess it's a career. It seems so funny to call art a career because it's really a lifestyle right now. But when I first got into art and knew nothing about watercolor, I purchased this large, fairly high quality Arches watercolor sheet and just had put down color. And at the time I didn't know how to finish it. So this was sitting in an art rack to keep it from bending, and I never really went back to revisit it until recently. So Helen Wells inspired me to use this technique of the concertina journal, and I believe there is another name for this technique, but making or taking a really large work that's been on paper and repurposing it. And what I decided to do was make these little 5x7 collages. So I'm gonna just for, let me just see. Oh, this is actually Strathmore watercolor paper, cold pressed, 140 pounds. So it's not Arches. And okay, I'm just gonna put this back together. And this is an example of a recent collage that I had done. I, for some reason, get really nostalgic about paper bags. My mom used to make me the most amazing lunches at school, and I'm not too sure, it just reminds me of a paper bag lunch, and something about putting black and white marks on top of that tanned background is, yeah, just something that speaks to me. I was playing around with the watercolor that was already on the background of this paper. You can see this really light white in here was playing around with stenciling. And at the time I was doing these little, what I would say were trees or bushes, and just doing mark making. And then within the last month, as a summertime practice, I had glued down some papers that I thought looked really good with this background, and I had painted around sort of this pot with black paint just to really bring out the background as to add some contrast to this piece. So there's a lot of things that speak to me about this little collage piece, and ultimately all of the collages that I'm going to be showing you, many of them aren't finished yet. Here's an example of one, whoops, that I had done. sort of around the same time frame, within the same week, I was working on this one, and instead of using the background that was already on the large sheet of paper, I glued down a painted paper with these blue ink marks that I really liked. I just glued right over the watercolor background and started fresh. So this was a really good way of kind of getting a cohesive look to this mixed media piece, because, you know, as an element of art, it's all about repetition of, say, pattern or texture design. Having a design element that repeats is a great way to have the viewer's eye move around. And using, I think it was an acrylic ink, or was it like a Payne's gray paint I'd used to get that really beautiful blue. And I think I may have been using a brayer, maybe on a jelly plate. I can't recall. Right now I have, where is it? I do really love Payne's Gray golden fluid acrylic paint. And if I remember correctly, I had put some of that on a jelly plate and put the paper down and had used, okay, let's just think. I had the jelly plate, and then I put down marks, how do you say? Like really drips of paint in different areas, and then I really rolled it around, and that is how I got that background. I had then used, I think I was inspired by the turquoise watercolor here. I'd used my golden fluid acrylic turquoise, phthalo turquoise, to sort of stain over top of that blue that I had from that painting. And this is just becoming a new sweet little collage that otherwise all of the parts of it would be, you know, stored in a drawer or in an art rack and not being used. Over the summer, this was such a great project for many reasons. I'm just gonna flip through and show you a few more. But what I was doing is I would make a collage, and I'll just find another one that's finished. Well, this is an example of gluing a background. Again, same technique. I had put down black fluid acrylic paint on a jelly plate. If you're unfamiliar with a jelly plate, it's a way of making monoprints, really prints that are unique to you. The jelly plate is a surface that's used, and there's so many techniques, and it just opens up the world of collage and artwork. And do look up videos if you're interested. Jelly as G-E-L-L-I plate. But I had used the black acrylic paint with my brayer in the same way, and I have not yet gone over top with any other paint. But I think what a neat way to get a cohesive background with the black and white, and, you know, adding a transparent layer over top, whether that's with watercolor. The acrylic paint would resist the watercolor because this is watercolor paper, or an acrylic ink, which is permanent, would stain those, well, I mean, they can't really stain black, but they would go right over the black. So pretty neat technique. Oh, but where I was going with this. So just to inspire you, if you have paintings that are on paper, or you feel like creating techniques, experimenting on paper, just plain, thinking, you know, looking at what you have, possibly putting it in, you know, putting all of your papers in, say, I mean, here's a bunch here that I was using recently, all sorts of papers. This is jelly paper. This is watercolor paper. This is a technique I had done on watercolor paper again. But, you know, if I could put all of the reds in one, you know, one plastic sheet, all of the oranges, yellows, greens, neutrals, blacks, whites, just a way of sorting these little papers, that would be great. I don't practice what I preach because you are not going to see what's behind me, but it's this massive box of disorganized papers, which I know I need to go through at some point. Okay, but back to where I was. If you are, you know, if you have maybe you went to the theater, or I know for my husband and I, my son, we just went to the Tyrrell Museum several months ago in Drumheller to see the dinosaurs. And just having like that ticket, that would be an example of something you may want to collage with. It's black and white, something that would be meaningful to you. Maybe you have purchased a new color of paint, so just getting the color down on the paper, and it can be really small, but maybe it speaks to you, and just gluing it down, whether it's in a journal or on an old painting that you've made a journal out of, and just using it as a jumping off point to kind of relax and stay inspired. So you can see when I open it this way, this is an example of that large painting where I have not covered up the background yet. Same with this. This was, it would be kind of cool to show you some of the background of that painting. You can see it here. And but what I want to show you, this is, I can't wait to actually break this journal up into pieces. Let's just see, where are we going here? Oh, I know. This is a spread I really love. Yeah, these two collages I really, really enjoy. They really speak to me. And what I had done, I had a whole bunch of mats. I went to order on Mat Shop Canada, where you can get a mat kit. And there is a US equivalent, and I am not familiar with the United States equivalent, but you can get a mat kit, or, you know, at Mat Shop Canada, you get, it's really awesome. You get this crystal clear sleeve, you get a mat. So this would be an example of a 5 by 7 inch mat opening where the image goes, and an 8 by 10 outer, how do you say, it would fit in an 8 by 10 inch frame. So I had purchased a bunch of these because I thought they were just such a lovely size. I do like working small. And what I had done after I was working on, or as I was working on the collage, just so I didn't get the mat dirty, because, you know, those mats are precious, they're expensive. You don't want to get them dirty. Oh, but back to, sorry, the mat kit. It comes with this crystal clear bag, which has this plastic you can take off to seal it on the back when you're ready, if you were to sell the work in a mat. And it also comes with a foam core backing, which I don't have right now, but that is what sort of a mat kit is. And it's a really great way of getting organized if you're selling your work at a show or a gallery, just having them all ready to go so people can frame them how they like. And they may or may not even use the mat. But as I was working on the collage, I had slipped the mat to keep it clean in this crystal clear bag. So this bag has paint on it, and it's using its purpose. But as I was creating my paintings, I would just zero in on almost like a viewfinder, a little window of what do I love most and what am I okay with letting go of if I was to cut out of the collage. So in this particular case, I would be losing some of the gold up here, and I would be losing that if I'd moved it over. I'm not too sure what I'll cut out here. I'll probably lose some of the gold, and I might even add more gold in, or I don't have to use this painting in this size mat. I can just leave it as is and use it in a different way. And as I was working on, you know, so this is a painting, it was really large. I was just playing around and I thought, oh, I really like this section of the painting. So I had taken this mat in the plastic cover and I had just gone around the painting to zero in on what I liked. And I want to finish this. I want to really emphasize that red flower down here amongst all of this pink, these tulips. I already had this watercolor on here, which I'm okay with. And with this concertina journal, I'm just super excited that when it comes time, when I feel like I'm kind of finished a lot of, that's a really pretty color, turquoise. You know, when it comes time to frame some of these in the mat kits, it will be really great because I can just basically tear them off with a ruler out of this book. And I'm so excited to line these up. I might do that this week if I can finish a few more. So, it feels so funny to be doing a video recording with you all. I have totally missed doing this and all of the inspiration that it gives me and the comments that I get. And I just really appreciate everybody's support as I try and get better with the videos as I go. This video is a little clunky, I feel, just because I'm, again, getting back into the swing of things. And I don't know if it will be the only video I do over the summer. Show you what else I am working on. I'm trying to think of, what do I want to show you? I'm still doing watercolor on canvas, so it's just kind of gone in a different direction. So this is a base that I've not finished, but it's very different than my other art poetry watercolors on canvas. So I was just getting watercolor down. And for those of you that were wondering, yes, I do prep these little canvases with Daniel Smith watercolor ground in titanium white, and that prepares the surface of the canvas for watercolor, because I do love working on watercolor. Let's see if I have some other little ones here. So these are just art poetry paintings on 4-inch square, maybe not quite 4-inch square cradled gallery canvas. And I can't wait to go over these with my black permanent pens, my white Posca pen. Yeah, I'm just not sure exactly how to finish them quite yet. And then I can't remember if I showed you these. These are just little paintings that I had done on watercolor paper. And this one says, "In every moment I carry you with me." And those are words that I've used on several of my art poetry paintings. This one is titled "Hold On to Hope." You can see that neon orange was a jelly roll pen that I had used, so Jelly, jelly roll. And that is how I got that neon in here, that line work. So jelly roll pens are great. And works in progress, I believe I showed you probably a lot of these. These are just little bases that I can't wait to go back to. Here's a mind map. So I'm going to be doing a photography session, and I'm excited. It's far off, but in a year from now, I plan and hope to be published in a magazine, and so I'll tell you more about that as it gets closer. But I hope to do the photography session this month, and then I'll kind of fill you in on the details. And yeah, just these little paintings, some that I need to go back and finish. I think I've showed you these before. I really like these two. Just so much fine detail. And I had coated these with a Dorland's wax medium just as a finish. And another art journal I'd been working on, which you've probably seen. Love what you do what you love, do it for yourself and inspire others. Or little reminders to myself as I was experimenting with different supplies. Here I was experimenting with mark making and collage. this is a page that I haven't used yet. Come Fly With Me. And then this journal is where I had put in that paper bag and I was practicing mark making. And it's probably the journal that kind of inspired me to add it to my wood panel. And then this, I was really into drawing sweet peas. And I'm not a huge fan of that shade of yellow that's around here, but it's great for a journal. It's joyful. And I did this with you all on a video. And just glued in some sort of bits and pieces. This is a little piece that I have to finish. I don't have to do anything in art, right? So it's more like when I want to finish it, when I'm feeling it, I'll go back to it. And I just have that beautiful outline of the flowers and the little black vase. So stay tuned for that. And that was a journal that I had stitched together myself, but it's quite old now and it's well loved. So I am going to maybe just pull one more card from this sample. So when I did the art show last year, this was again just how I had my deck as a sample before people would buy it. And I'm just going to grab this card and this card is great for me today. Let go of what is not serving you. I feel I'm very jittery today. I have an essential tremor, as a lot of you know. So I'm just going to put the card down. And that is one of the girls I had done with this reticulated watercolor and acrylic ink background. So she's very textured. She's quite unique. And I had done florals and used different types of paints sort of around her head, and let go of what is not serving you. So is there something that you're doing or thinking? Do you have that kind of negative thought pattern about maybe what you're creating or something that's going on in your life? And is there a way that you might be able to just let it go? And letting things go it's such a healing process, you know, letting things go that aren't serving us, you know, physically, whether it's in our home. You know, a lot of us have a lot of things, or I know I do. And I was recently reading a little bit of, I believe it's the Danish concept, I think it's pronounced hygge, of having things in your home and your surrounding and sort of a way of life that is simple yet functional. And it just made me think of that, how some of the Danish live. And I think hygge it's a hard name for me to spell, but I think it's Hygge. And I'll have to just link that name. I'm trying to think if I have the book here. I don't know how I got off on that, but I think that book, I've gotten through half of it, and I'm really learning about what's not serving me sort of in my home environment, but it's also really awesome to talk about or, you know, think about what is not serving you in other areas of your life. Okay, this was a really good video warm-up for me. I'm so excited to be able to post this video because it's been ages and I missed the comments and the interaction with everybody. And I just wanted to mention too, thanks to everyone that has reached out and has signed up to my wait list to be able to be notified when my art poetry art deck is back in stock on my website. And I'm hoping that I'm organized enough to get them all going in September of this year, maybe towards the end of September. So if you want to sign up and you're interested in the art deck, I will put a link on the description of this video. And also do check out Kim Dills' Soul Seeking Seed. There's some really amazing art decks out there and a lot that are just being published you know, in the last 6 months and sort of as we speak. And yeah, and I just hope this video has inspired you to maybe get out your glue stick, maybe cut up an old painting, maybe consider taking, or, you know, looking up art videos on the jelly plate, painted papers, you know, looking up mat kits. Okay, I'm kind of digressing, and I'm gonna sign off now, but thank you so much for sticking with me, and I hope to be more present with you all in September.